This film is a bit darker in nature. How was it getting in touch with your darker side?
It was just more like all the facades that I put up, I just had to like let go, so you guys got to see the real me. I'm just just a dark, horrible person, and I just got to let my flag fly. So there you go. This is the real me.
So, guys, we are back at it again. I saw this article earlier, and as I was going through it, I was quite shocked at something that was mentioned in it. Now, the headline says Blake Lively has no regrets about suing Justin Baldoni. She knew there would be backlash. Now, this comes on the heels of an article the other day that said that she did regret suing Justin Baldoni. This was when she was at the equestrian farm at her daughter's, equestrian race up in her multi-million dollar farmhouse in upstate New York, a life far removed from the rest of us. But there was a source that was talking about all, she's sad and forlorn, and then it also mentioned that she's like regretting suing him. So this is weird. They keep coming out with different articles. I believe it's the same sources. I think they're trying to confuse the public, trying to get us to grab one headline, then we got to correct to the next one. What they don't realize about me, I'm gonna just read them all. If you put it out one day, you regret it, we're gonna talk about it. If you put out the next day, you don't regret it, we're gonna talk about it. Because listen, I am not a journalist. I am just a mom sitting here on the internet spilling tea and giving my opinion. So this isn't like a gotcha like Vanity Fair who had to walk back the whole Harvey Weinstein when they were just like, congratulations, Justin Baldoni. Harvey Weinstein is on your side. But then Harvey got them playing, I guess, 3D, 4D. I don't think it was 5D chess, but let's call it 4D chess. And basically made his statements clarified and said, listen, when I was talking about comparing what happened with me with the New York Times and Justin Baldoni, I'm just speaking against the New York Times. I'm not on anybody's side. I'm not on Justin Baldoni's side, but I do have the kindest and warmest, basically fondest memories of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And so then they had to issue a retraction and then even say, I'm sorry, Justin. So that was interesting, but they don't realize we're just regular. Listen, it's kind of ghetto here. I do the best I can. We're going to go as the wind blows and we're just going to report on it. So thanks for the confusion. It just gives me more content to put out. So anyway, let's get into that little detail I hinted to at the beginning. The actress feels she can't go through life knowing she didn't stand up for something she believed was wrong, a source says. You know daggone well you and Justin ain't do nothing wrong. The only people that did something wrong in this situation is you and your husband, Predator Pool. Child, Blake Lively is sticking by her decision to sue her Ends With Us director and co-star Justin Baldoni, a source tells People. Sure. Who is it this time? Is it Leslie Sloan? Is it you, Blake? Is it you, Ryan Girl? Who is it? According to the source, the actress 37 has no regrets about the lawsuit. Why is that in quotations? Like, is that her direct quote? Is that what we're supposed to? Okay. About the lawsuit alleging sexual harassment and a retaliatory smear campaign. And I always like to say, this smear campaign is untraceable. In their words, it's also undetectable, meaning it's invisible. Nobody can see it. Nobody can find it. Nobody knows where it's at, but it happened, y'all. And it's happening now with the mommy sleuths. Okay. Which she filed in December of 2024 and launched a legal battle that will ultimately see her and Baldoni, 41, face off in court next year. This wasn't a decision made on a whim. It was months in the making. Months in the making. You don't say, sis. Was it? Was it months in the making? Because that sounds about right. Because something about this is not sitting well with me. Because I'm thinking you filed the civil rights complaint on December 20th, and you filed it like a lawsuit. It was very weird and detailed. Like, it was way too much information. Most people don't do all that for a CRD, but it was written as though it was made as though you were going to hint at a lawsuit, and it was given all these details, but more than a lawsuit, it seemed like it was for PR, you know? And I think we know it was supposed to be for PR because do you guys remember the very next day, the New York Times had a full spread, a full article with the little text message bubbles for visuals. And I really appreciate that, New York Times, because I'm a visual learner. And then you guys had a full video where you guys said, this is what happened. Like it was fact. Whatever Blake was alleging was fact. You barely gave Justin Baldoni any time to respond. You gave him 14 hours, but then you cut that deadline by 2 hours. And this was 4 days before Christmas and all of that. So remember how we found the metadata? I found the early date of December 12th for the New York Times article and the video, because it was even in the video title, the URL. But then Leanna Newton on X, and I reported it here about how she found the October 30th date that ended up being in the amended complaint, Justin Baldoni's amended lawsuit against Blake Lively, saying that she had colluded for months with the New York Times in order to put out this hit piece. Right. And so there's a whole thing that goes with it, with the New York Times trying to get out of the lawsuit and saying they just based their article on the California civil rights complaint. But that's impossible because all you had details and other things that were not in there. And outside of that, actually, you claim, New York Times, that you went through thousands, you combed through thousands of text messages and documents. And you did that all in less than 24 hours and were able to put together this fully edited, article with the text message bubbles, which had the October 30th date embedded. That's how we found that early date in the metadata. But then you also had this fully edited and scripted video that was well put together. You did all of that in less than 24 hours. Yeah, I don't think so. So when Blake Lively says this wasn't a decision made on a whim, it was months in the making, believe her the first time. When a narcissist tells you who they are, believe them the first time. And here we go with another slip. Months in the making. Who were you making it with? Was it just your attorneys? Now we have questions. We need discovery. Were you making it with just your attorneys? You and Ryan? Or can we include the New York Times? Could we include Taylor Swift? Could we include the rest of the cast? Who were you working with for months in order to make this happen? Because this lawsuit didn't come out of thin air, and we know that you had help putting together your lies and this cobbled together and misrepresented texts that were out of context. And then once Justin Baldoni dropped his bomb, well, then you weren't expecting him to fight back so hard, which is also what you guys sources told people a couple weeks ago, when you were talking about how bad your marriage had deteriorated. But that was a long-winded thing, guys, but you know how I go on my rants. This is what we do here. Okay, so again, this wasn't a decision made on a whim. It was months in the making, the source says. She knew there would be backlash, and she prepared herself for how mentally and emotionally difficult it would be. Who would backlash against a woman who was actually sexually harassed? A couple of trolls online? Who were all these people that were going to backlash against that? Who were you preparing all of that for? Is it because you were already getting backlash for how you behave, but then you try to, say it was Justin that made people see you that way or started a smear somehow? Like, who were you afraid were going to backlash against you? This doesn't make any sense. And now you're making this statement now. Sure. Now, again, this is victim language. This is victim narrative, victimhood that she is trying to spin. This very privileged elite plantation KKK Khaleesi is now acting as though she was just a deer in headlights, this innocent woman who's never seen porn, even though she's done, pornesque scenes, nude scenes in movies that are quite graphic and all these other things. And then they have their daughter describing sex acts between Uncle Hugh and her daddy, or herself and her daddy in Deadpool, but yet you're this innocent doe prancing through the meadow and you you would just, you got to really stand up for yourself, because if you don't, who will believe other victims? Who will believe other women? Blake, you don't represent anybody but yourself. You don't represent any other women. We will believe other women who come forward based on the merits of their claims and and the facts that come out. You do not represent or speak for all womanhood. And I believe people who are watching this will quite agree. Don't ever speak for me. Don't ever say people aren't going to believe me because of your foolishness, because I would never do this. And most of you would never do it. Okay, adds the source, but you can't go through life knowing she didn't stand up for something she believed was wrong. Sure. Anyway, guys, that was my long diatribe about this whole thing. I went on tangents, but just the gall, the gumption, the nerve, the audacity to sit up here. I'm trying to get that thing off the top. I told y'all it's ghetto over here. The actress feels she can't go through life knowing she didn't stand up to something that she believed was wrong. If y'all thought this was going to settle, let me tell you something. I believe Justin Baldoni is a kind person. He doesn't like conflict, and he probably would settle. But I don't think so now. But I think that's because Blake and Ryan won't settle, because they really believe that they can crush their enemies. They're too big to fail, and that they can crush their enemies and drink their blood. These are not jokes, folks. They really believe these things. I know it's hard to gather your mind, and because they like to frame everything as just ad-libbing or joking, and it's not real. You can't take a joke. But let me tell you, they are speaking truth when they say these things. They just frame it as a joke so people aren't off put by it. But I don't know anyone, even other actors, even comedians, who do the things or joke about the things that Blake and Ryan claim are jokes. They are speaking truth when they say things, but they disguise the narcissism. They disguise being sociopath or antisocial personality disorder. This is just I have no official diagnosis. This is just what I'm getting. My opinion, my reading, my gut is telling me, and just the evidence I've seen, not just from this case, but I've looked at past interviews and all these things they've said and done and lie about. Blake Lively literally says her favorite, one of the things Ryan Reynolds does is just lie. She said this in a past interview, and it was a dead serious interview, and it was an article, right? She wasn't making a joke at the time. She was saying that Ryan Reynolds lies about everything, and sometimes he runs the lies by her first. Sometimes he just does it, but she just loves that about him. But this is the reason why he lies about everything, because they're both, actually they both do it, is what she said. But the reason she loves about him is because they're introverts and he's shy. And so that's the mask that he wears in order to, I guess, make himself comfortable, because he's an introvert. That's not what introverts do. Introverts don't just lie and put on a mask. If anything, they don't have the strength and energy to do all that. They want to be themselves, and they would just rather just give you nothing, give you a wall, or just be cautious about you, than just lie and make up things and wear a mask. No, that's a personality disorder. There's something wrong with you if that's what you do. That is not how a normal introvert works. You guys who are introverts, tell me this. Do you just lie and put on a mask and fake with all of these jokes and just everything you say is a lie? She says everything he says is a lie. And in fact, I was saving this for another video, but I'm going to show you guys this right now. Hold on, let me load it up.
This film is a bit darker in nature. How was it getting in touch with your darker side?
It was just more all the facades that I put up, I just had let go, so you guys got to see the real me. I'm just a dark, horrible person, and I just got to let my flag fly. So there you go. This is the real me.
And you were an absolute girl boss in this movie as well. Do you think we need more of that in Hollywood?
A girl, if I knew
a girl boss.
A girl boss. He said a girl boss. I'm if I knew what that meant, I could tell you. A girl boss. Yeah, we need more female. I think we have a lot of female bosses, and women's voices are being heard now in a big way. More than a few years ago, which is great.
Now, some people will say she was being sarcastic, but you can see even how she was like, what did you say? After she's being serious right now. And She has said this even while the same type of thing while promoting It Ends With Us, on how she's being dark and she could take the mask off. But this is from 2018 from A Simple Favor. Let me play that first part again. Understand, this is not a joke. This is not sarcasm. This is her saying who she is. Her and Ryan do this over and over.
This film is a bit darker in nature. How was it getting in touch with your darker side?
It was just more like all the facades that I put up, I just had like let go, so you guys got to see the real me. I'm just a dark, horrible person, and I just got to let my flag fly. So there you go. This is the real me.
And you were an absolute go.
So Emily, the character she plays in that, she says that's the real her, and we know narcissists do not make good. Like, some of them can make good actors. Let me just say this: like, some of them can be good. Okay, like they actually have some type of talent. Just because you're a narcissist doesn't mean you don't have talent. She is talentless. All right. Her biggest claim to fame is Gossip Girl, but it was not a wildly popular show. It wasn't like, I don't know, like ER back in the day, or one of these really, really groundbreaking shows. It may have had like a cult following amongst young women, but it was getting a million or less views per episode. And that's not a lot for network television, especially when cable was not as big back then. And especially people were not watching as many things on the internet, and you didn't have all of the different streaming services. So it had a following, but it wasn't that great. But one of the things about Blake is her performance. If you go and look through everything she's ever done, she plays the same person. Like, she does not have range. She wants to think that she's Margot Robbie, which that's a video I have coming up, but who actually has range, who can play different characters. She can play Tanya Harding in one movie. She could play the girlfriend, the wife in A Wolf of Wall Street, which there's a story about Blake regarding that. If you guys haven't heard, I will be again in another video. She could play Barbie. She has range, right? Blake is always the same jerk. She's always kind of the same, or just that flat, mouthy, like it's always the same person. And so when she gets to play a character like in that movie, she can remove like the facade that what she tries to do to be a nice person, or pretend to the world that she's nice. And she's being honest here. Like, it's difficult trying to play another character when you don't know who you are. And this is narcissists. They don't have a sense of self. They don't know who they are. They have a false sense of self. So there is no center to get back to into who they are. They are always playing some type of role, and especially being highly manipulative as they are. This is, it's tiresome to have to do it. And that's why she said it's such a relief to finally be herself in that movie. And if you watch it, her grabbing Henry by the balls, her slapping Anna Kendrick on the butt, her being dark, evil, hurting people, being manipulative, lying, scapegoating, all of these things, and then hiding her family past. Her family has a very weird history. If you go through that, yeah, it makes sense that was Blake Lively. So, guys, I went on a tangent at the end. Make sure that you are checking out my merch that I have, realmelanieking.com. The link will be below. I have the merch on showing up right now. I just finished designing some new stuff, so I'll be dropping that very shortly after this video. But with that, I will see you on the next one.